Welcome to Pop of Genius on Urban Politics. If you would like to join our community, please subscribe to the channel, like and share. If you want to support the channel or buy me a cup of coffee for my research time, Cash App $ Pop of Genius Films, and thank you for all of your support.
Much of my content will take you into
root solutions, 3 solutions MACON-BIBB can do to really reduce crime. So unless you've been living under a rock, you should know that here in the city of Macon, Georgia, MACON-BIBB County, there was a crime that occurred a few days ago within our North Macon part of our city in a shopping district, which is really popular for like Kroger's and other popular food restaurants. And it involved 4 young Black American men from this city that were involved in a shooting event, and they tried to evade the police, and it could have been a lot of detriment. People could have gotten killed, police could have gotten killed and lost their lives, as well as their own. And innocent people that were just minding their business, going about their day. At the end of the workday, a lot of people go grocery shopping in that shopping center. And this is the place where they chose to do their crime. But there's something that I want you to know about in regards to this crime in particular. I'm not making any excuses for it. They should have chosen better. But I do want to use this crime as a way to really blow a horn on an underlying issue that seems to never get solved here in Macon-BIBB County. And it's like, it's screaming, it's flaring. There's flags showing us that this is a crime that could be reduced even more drastically with all of the funding that has been received in this county to prevent crime within this demographic of people. This is what happened in results of these 4 men and what they did.
Accused of firing shots at a North Macon shopping center complex Monday appeared in court today. Some now face additional charges. Today at the Bibb County Jail, a magistrate judge denied bond for all 4. She also added new charges to 18-year-olds Tyrese Haslam and Elijah Johnson. Haslam is now charged with 3 counts of unlawful possession of a firearm and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Johnson now charged with 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. 21-year-old Justin Epps and 18-year-old Aubrey Blash were also charged Wednesday afternoon. Meanwhile, one man at the shops at North Park says he's still nervous after Monday's shooting, which evacuated a nearby Kroger.
It didn't make any sense to me when somebody coming up in the middle of the day and doing all the shooting out here in a wide open parking lot. So I was just glad I wasn't up here.
The Bibb County Sheriff's Office says they're still investigating what led to the suspects firing dozens of shots.
Now again, you hear the report of what occurred, and I'm not making excuses for these young men, because there are decisions that you're going to have to take responsibility for. I understand there are peer pressures and things like that, but when you're an adult, which I believe 2 of them are, you're going to have to take responsibility for your direction. However, there was one thing that made me pause and review everything that occurred during this news coverage, which was a great news coverage. It has nothing to do with what I'm saying. But look at the items that were collected for this investigation. Look real hard. You see something that just stands out to you? Yeah, that right there. That, my friends, is a Southwest High School diploma. That means that one of them in that group was trying to do the right thing. But I believe that there's other issues that occurred within this city that could have influenced why he is now implemented in a real felony type of crime. Let's talk about it. Do you live in a city within the southeast region that has a population of under 175,000 people, and yet the government has granted you millions and millions of dollars to solve your crime problem, and yet in a population of 175,000 people, give or take, where the majority is African American, and there seems to be an unsolvable problem with all of this money just constantly being dumped on to this particular area, and it affects the young men in that area. And even though millions and millions of dollars have been dumped onto this area of, again, a population of 175,000 or less, give or take, population of people. I just want to read an insert from the most recent summary of department that operates the city grants for these nonprofit programs. This is just an insert now. Okay. I want to tell you that I've seen the work of our nonprofits changing lives, and that's the hopeful part, which is great, and that people are joining us in this effort because it's so important. This past summer, the Community Foundation of Central Georgia announced $855,500 would be given to 25 organizations for the third round of MVP grants. That brought the total over 3 years of grants to 40 organizations receiving more than $2.5 million to help transform the lives of children, families, and entire communities. The third round of grants were awarded in 3 areas. 19 grants totaled $625,500 for supervised activities for youth, 2 grants totaling $55,000 for mental health resources, 4 grants totaling $175,000 to provide support, education, and accountability for parents. Well, you may say, well, that's really good money, and 150 to 175,000 people in a city, it's not that much. And there was 39 homicides reported on last year, right? Until you hear the other cities that we live next to. So, ever heard of Savannah, Georgia? Yeah, you've heard of Savannah. A city like Savannah and the money that they make, right? In a population of 148,808 people, they only had 22 homicides. 22 homicides in that big city. Athens, Georgia. Ever heard of the UGA Georgia Bulldogs football team, the college football team? Pretty sure you have. They have a population of 129,054 people, and in 2024, and they only had 6 homicides. Now, Columbus, Georgia is really close to like Alabama, but it's also a town like Macon, and they have over 200,000 people living there in 2024, and the homicides that they had were only 26. Now, more population than we do, and 26 homicides. Again, we have a population of between 150 to 175,000 people here in the city of Macon. We had almost 40 homicides last year, okay? And that's going down. So there is ups to some of this funding, but there should be even better rates improving with all of that money. Why is this happening? It's because there's a lot of these crimes, they are being committed by young men that look just like that. Millions of dollars on top of millions of dollars have been able to help all of these supposedly nonprofit organizations and government agencies to help to bring down this crime issue that we have within our city of Macon, Georgia. And it just seems to me that over the years, I've seen this money go to a lot of folks. In fact, there's been news reports about people who have misappropriated funds for stupid, miscellaneous things that have nothing to do with curbing crime. I have seen money being given to individuals that have taken the percentage of the grant money that were given to them and use it for paying rent, mortgages, their lifestyle, and then only a small percentage of it being given to the people, the youth, that really are in need of it. I'm going to read this article written in November 2021 by the local Macon newsroom. Title of the article is 500K for 12 planters shows failure risk of community gardens, right? Okay, so in this article it goes, for years the 83-year-old has been advocating to have blighted houses and eyesores removed from and around Bowden Street where he lives. 2017, the promise of Georgia's first agri-hood, envisioned as a burgeoning community surrounding a collaborative garden, gave him hope. Remember, he's 83 years old. This gave him hope. Now, after a $500,000 grant, that's $500,000 to create an oasis in a fresh food desert, all that remains is a dozen raised beds, some community portraits, and dashed streams of 2 plots of land. This is a failure for the community gardens, and this program was supposed to help so many people within this vicinity for this agri-hood. Okay, it was supposed to create a community kitchen, a food pantry, fitness center. Healthy lifestyle plans, a restaurant. See, this is going to open up jobs for the young people that live there in the neighborhood, where the young people can work and serve the elderly or the younger kids, even younger than them. It gives back. It gives them a sense of pride, a sense of direction and training, real on-the-job training. But where did this money go to? Your guess is just as good as mine. Next, now one of the individuals that's mentioned in that $500,000 grant that was not appropriated to that community, guess what? They were mentioned in another suit with the federal government giving them a PPP loan, and they ended up being a part of a $2 million fraudulent claim. In this fraudulent claim, they spent that money that was supposed to go to the community. He lived in another county, but he was a part of that original $500,000 here in Macon. But you start off wrong, you're going to end up wrong. And you, along with someone else in this separate case, used that money for luxury vehicles and other personal items. Money that was supposed to go to the community. I understand that when you have an organization for nonprofit, you're going to have in there, established in your budget, there's going to be a salary, or there may be funding set aside for a person that's responsible, or persons responsible to have gas money. They may even have to stay over at night at a hotel, lunch, travel, as long as it's within certain means, not an abuse. This was abuse. So this next article is by 13WMZ, local news here in Macon, and their article says it's untraceable. Poof. Macon-Bibb County says mayoral candidate misspent thousands of dollars from an anti-violence fund. Battery charges are pending. Said this individual spent thousands. They got $45,000 up front to help run a Macon quote-unquote violence prevention group. Okay? And nearly misspent $21,000 of that, according to this article. Now, this was written in March 2024. Okay. It says that this money, according to their records within this article, further down in the article, it said airplane tickets, food at the Atlanta airport, underwear, perfume were examples of where that money went to. Now, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, okay? I really am not. I'm not here to make anyone look bad, but I do want to pull out some of these really serious examples of why there's a reason why a lot of these crimes are happening with these young Black American men. It's because a lot of funding has come into this community, and there is not a lot of oversight with that funding. A lot of people, that's just one of the problems, okay? This is just one thing that could be addressed to help this is to have much tighter oversight. There are a lot of individuals that open up nonprofit organizations and they confuse it with opening up a business. They think that, oh man, if I get that 501c3, they get that 501c3, they look at it as if they just need like an LLC for a business and a business license. They take that money and they only take out a few dollars and put it towards the people who really need it to make it look like they are doing something, when the majority of that money, according to a lot of these reports, and these are just a few, okay, there's more, but they put the rest of it on things that have nothing to do with a nonprofit organization. Who suffers from that? These young people do. Not only these young men that are unfortunately going down wrong paths, but also younger children as well, and disabled, and our senior population. And a lot of this money never impacts young men that are committing these crimes, young teen men that are committing crimes. A lot of this money never even touches them, never gets to them. So yeah, I have a problem with it. Years ago, when I had a grant from the EEOC for a young girls group I liked the way they did it. They awarded us a small grant, and what they said was, you go and get the invoice for what you're needing, and then we will send the check. We will provide this and we will pay for that, but this is the amount that's being awarded to your group. I love that, because that is going to minimize the amount of people that are going into nonprofit organizations for the wrong reasons, and it's going to help encourage and get the money funneled to the people that really want to be in a nonprofit organization to serve the community. Another thing that I see, also, we need real, tangible resources. Not only the accountability for government grants that come through to help reduce crime and prevention programs, but also too, there needs to be a gathering of resources where these young people can actually put their hands to it. There's a lot of open jobs. There's a lot of small employment opportunities, but they're scattered about through the city of Macon, through federal agencies, and through private agencies and private organizations and businesses. I feel like if we had one hub where it's specific to young adults here in the city of Macon, and especially within the more inner city neighborhoods, where these young men feel as if included in these opportunities. For instance, they struggle with trying to find places to stay. If you go to big cities like New York, whatever, they have hostels, they have boarding homes, and that's another form of resource. You got a lot of people that have real estate agencies here, or they have a great amount of just properties that's sitting there in a portfolio doing nothing, waiting for someone to come along and to rent it, when what they could do is they could break up the rooms and break it up into a hostel or shared spaces or a boarding house. Make it affordable so that young men can actually rent a room or rent like a little small studio within a house, and it's affordable for them. If they need to get a little small job and that's all that's available, but they can have like 2 or 3 living all in one space. We have to create these resources, because if not, we're going to have hundreds of thousands of especially young black men. And don't think that, again, I'm trying to ice over the fact that there's a need there for young Latin men, white men, Asian men. The reason why I'm honing in on young black men is because this is the issue with the crime that we keep seeing over and over again. They are crying for a space and no one's creating it for them. So, when's the last time the city of Macon had a real job fair? It doesn't take a whole lot to orchestrate and organize a job fair, especially in this climate. The thing about Houston County is that Robins Air Force Base, they are always hosting job fairs. I will say that about them. But Macon, unless it's like Mercer, or unless it's like the Job Connection with Goodwill, like those type of events, and those are minimal, and you have to be invited, or even if they have it open to the public, there's only a few jobs that these people can really get into. Now, this is what I'm talking about. In this local group, the 100 Black Men of Middle Georgia, they did host a job and career fair for the community. And that's a wonderful thing. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Different groups coming together and contributing towards a pool of resources that these young men can connect to. Because don't get me wrong, I love events where there's empowerment talk and violence prevention, motivational speeches and all of that. But at the end of the day, when you're at a particular age, your main goal now is to be able to support yourself. And if you don't have a job to do that, if you don't have resources to do that, you need tangible resources. If you're not in a right state of mind, along with these other outside resources like mental health, wellness, getting your education, transportation, this is what I'm talking about. This is what you really need. You need access and resources to jobs. And sometimes, unfortunately, we live in a community where if you are not in certain circles, you may not be able to get a job, a well-paying job, just a basic job, if you are underskilled. And speaking of being underskilled, another great program here locally is the Motivation Youth Organization with Roger Jackson. He hosts an adult readiness program. See, this is something where if you are underskilled and it's kind of hard for you to get into a certain type of training program because there may be certain things in your past with like crime or whatever, you can apply for this program to possibly be considered for it. They're teaching you real skills. In a few weeks or a few months, you actually have working skills. Like they're teaching you on the job skills like reading blueprints, taking real measurements, learning how to level out sites, things like that. I mean, where you can actually go out there and get a job and a referral. And again, a lot of these programs like this don't get that type of funding that a lot of these other programs do. A program like this, or the career fair. See, this is really going to put money in your pocket if you show up and you do your part. Talk is cheap, and a lot of these crime prevention programs get hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's all based off of motivational talk. Nobody cares about that anymore. These young people need real jobs. Please don't tell me that, oh, well, there's jobs out there. They can get a job at the fast food restaurant. True. And a lot of them do apply for these jobs at fast food restaurants. But guess what else is happening right now? You have people who have college degrees that are also applying for jobs at fast food restaurants because the job market is just that bad. You got people who have computer programming degrees that are looking for jobs right now. And it's getting so desperate to where they're now even just saying, you know what? The heck with it. I'll even apply to work at Chipotle. Just as long as I get something to help at least cover my car note. I'll do DoorDash. I'll do this and that. A lot of these young men, if they have vehicles, they do a lot of livery jobs. Like they do DoorDash, they do Uber, they do they'll do Lyft, they'll do jobs, they'll do delivery. They will do jobs that are available for people who will hire them. So don't give me that. That's a cheap excuse for an answer. And solution number 3 is not only a solution, but it's also an acknowledgement that the South, after slavery, post-Reconstruction, they heavily relied on retaining newly freed black slaves that were black men and some black women, and created laws that were that would give them the ability to take in men off of the streets and deem them as criminals, and it would provide them free labor. Now, we don't have free labor anymore within the criminal justice system here in the South, but if you take a look around, Macon doesn't have a whole lot of industries that create jobs for its citizens. We have the medical industry here. We have the educational industry. Outside of that, we've got the criminal justice system. It's one of the largest employers here within Middle Georgia, and especially in Macon. We have the jail. We have the precincts, we have district attorney, we've got their offices, we've got the courts, we've got so many support agencies like the parole, we have the when you're on probation, we've got offices for that. Then there's interwoven agencies that work along in crime, like mental health, and also interlinking with like family children court. So if Macon didn't have the crime that it does, and then I even forget like the coroner's office, if Macon didn't have the crime that it does, and these individuals that continuously perpetuate these crimes, think about it. A lot of people would be out of work. A good friend of mine, Attorney Roy Miller, mentioned this to me a few years ago, and he said a lot of cities really depend on young black people committing crimes because it keeps people at work. It's unfortunate, but I have to agree with that assessment. And outside of that personal opinion of his, there is data, there are studies that actually back that theory up. For instance, this is the Journal of Public Economics, the impact of economic opportunity on criminal behavior. There's evidence from this type of boom. A lot of cities, especially rural areas, small towns, they depend on privatized prisons that are built by stakeholders that come to small rural areas, small towns, and small cities, and they offer the opportunity of buying up land and building up their prisons for for profit. A lot of these small towns, and I've worked for a prison before in education, so I know what I'm saying. A lot of these small towns, they don't have any other industries unless it's like a small base for medical, small base for their education department, and their crime. And it's unfortunate, but the data does back up this notion. It's like, in a way, it's like they look at it as a necessary evil. You know, we don't want to have to do this, but if we don't do this, we won't have these jobs. And when I look at that high school diploma from Southwest High School, and along with the rest of the evidence that was confiscated with those military style rifles, and along with the drugs, when you're selling drugs, you're trying to create money, you know. So we have to do our part in actually addressing the situation and creating opportunities. That's solution number 3. Solution number 3 has to be an acknowledgement that, you know what, we have not done enough as a city to address this demographic. And this is the demographic that even our news stations depend on. Like, if a lot of these crimes that happen are coming from this demographic of young individuals. The same way Macon, Georgia at one time during slavery and Reconstruction era and post-Reconstruction depended on the agility and able body of young black male demographic for profit. It's the same way they're depending on agile, young, able-bodied black males here today in 2025. It's a very unfortunate thing, but we have to make an acknowledgement about that. Along with the other 2 solutions, I think that along with the ongoing funding that the city of Macon is receiving, their programs that they've implemented in over these past few years, along with the help of the churches, the communities, and other organizations, we've got to do better for this demographic. We can't just fold our hands and think that it's okay, because if we think it's okay and we can go to sleep at night knowing that, oh well, you know what, usual suspects, what does that make us as individuals? Obviously something has gone wrong here. And another thing, I see a lot of emphasis throughout the city of Macon on the LGBTQ community. I don't see anything in regards to like campaigning signs and campaign info for establishing and promoting traditional families. A lot of these young men come from single parent households, and it's not easy when you don't have a full community helping you to raise children. And there's such an emphasis right now on supporting alternative lifestyles, LGBTQ, and all of that. And I don't have any problem with that. Let me make that clear. But I think there should also be an emphasis on just not stopping the crime, but also encouraging traditional families, and the traditional families that are already established, supporting them when they need help. To bounce off of the idea of Macon Pride Week, let's do Macon Family Week. Let's take some of that crime prevention grant money and invest it into actual families, single families. What do they need? Does the funding need to be implemented into transportation? Does the funding need to be implemented into creating part-time jobs for certain neighborhoods within our community? Don't just say, oh, well, figure it out, go to your church, that's it. We need to incorporate and interweave within these agencies, the school district, the churches, the nonprofit organizations, and our city government on what can we do to support and establish sound family structures. That right there is also acknowledging that there is a long ongoing problem, and a lot of this stemmed from slavery that was here in Macon-Bibb County. Let's get this money in connection with these young people who are obviously not being impacted by it, and not to support people's personal salaries. And I'm not just talking off the rip, making my own little personal opinion out of the air. I've done a documentary about how to die young in Middle Georgia, and I saw what was going on back in 2018 and 2019. Myself and the team, we got together to create a community film. And then, along with other things that I've tried to do along the way, creating a young men's summit that was held at the Macon Government Center back in 2020, 2021, during the height of the pandemic. Tried to do a meetup for Job Corps before Job Corps became a program that got severely cut by this current administration in Washington. I had organized that. So just little small things. I'm not popular in this community, but there's little small things that I have done. And so don't think that I'm trying to stand on a soapbox and point my finger down at anyone. No, I'm coming with the best intentions. I'm just giving you my opinion off of what I have been able to assess over these past few years. And with this ongoing issue, obviously this money is not impacting these young people. Please let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you down in the comment section. Have a great one.
Pop of Genius on urban politics. If you would like to join our community, please subscribe to the channel, like and share. If you want to support the channel or buy me a cup of coffee for my research time, Cash App $Pop of Genius Films, and thank you for